Well, guys, I did it. I sunk 40 hours into Silksong, and I still haven't completed everything about the game. I beat the main missions, and yes, it is exactly as good as people say that it's not. Does that make sense? Okay, what I'm trying to say is it's a really good game. Silksong is a really good game for so many reasons. Now, and hear me out. A lot of people are so frustrated with Team Cherry for the difficulty that they made Silksong, but I don't think people understand that it's a totally different character, and the play style that you're putting yourself into is a lot different than Hollow Knight. But before we get into any of that, I just want to start off with the basics. Silksong is $20. It's $19.99. My first playthrough was 40 hours, so I'm going to say it like it is. You have 40 hours of gameplay for $20. That's pretty insane. I also understand that from the intro of the game to the very final boss, everything about the game to me just screamed Hollow Knight. And I say that in the best way. Team Cherry took it upon themselves to not reinvent the wheel, but instead take something familiar and include nostalgia, bring back older NPCs and revamp them into new skins, and just give us the experience that everybody just truly enjoyed in the first game of the franchise. Now, admittedly, there are some very frustrating moments in the game, and I know Team Cherry has listened to the community, and they're making some changes to the game, and I don't know if they're going to be introduced either this week or next week, but regardless, they are listening to the community, and they are making sure that the game is a little bit more balanced for new players coming into the game, people that probably haven't played Hollow Knight going into this new experience and just experiencing what we all experienced in the first game. Now, a couple things right off the bat. It's a hard game. I'm not even going to front with you guys. It's a hard game, okay? And there was a part of me that when I was streaming the game, because when I usually stream games like this, I do it a little bit more on an extended period. There were so many times during my stream when I was literally screaming at the camera and wondering why we're playing another fucking Elden Ring. And there's also just some bosses that were the final boss was so much easier than one of the early game bosses, Morwing. And for those of you that have already played the game and are listening to some random fucking dude on the internet complain about Silksong and love it at the same time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Fuck Morwing, dude. I think a lot of the combat and some of the mobs compared to the bosses, how you would lose health, how you would traverse some of these areas, it was also new and frustrating to a lot of old and new players. One of the biggest things that players were complaining about was the health aspect of the game and how your health is measured in masks. And so you start off with 5 masks for health, and when you get hit by a little mob person, you lose 2 masks, which is a huge difference compared to the first game where that didn't happen, even with the bosses. Again, this is something Team Cherry is addressing and they're fixing. They've listened to the community. So it's kind of a W on their part. But for those of you that got through all this before they're updating the game, I mean, fucking round of applause. Because what the hell? It was just so crazy and such an adjustment to that alone. As the main character Hornet, you are more agile, you're a little bit faster, and so your playstyle is going to be a lot different, especially with the introduction of tools and how charms work and so on and so forth. So I feel like Team Cherry sort of accommodated for that in this game, which is totally understandable. To that point, there again were just so many things that just didn't really fit. Another thing that I noticed about the game, which was more annoying than frustrating, was it almost felt like you were fighting the area more than you were fighting mobs or just trying to get back to a boss. And God forbid you had to get back to a boss, because going through an entire area again to get to that boss was just more tedious and annoying than anything, especially when some of the mobs did take away 2 of your health, which, you know, in the grand scheme of things was a pretty big chunk. And then you had to go fight a boss with half health. But I say you're fighting the area more than you're actually fighting the mobs is because when you first start the game, instead of the actual swipe down action that you got in Hollow Knight, you're going at an angle. You're going either like a slight 30-degree angle to the left or to the right when you go down. And so some of these areas are designed in a way that you can't get up to another area or over to another area without traversing some of these obstacles that require you to hit down multiple times in a row in other directions constantly. So that within itself was also an incredible adjustment when playing the game. Other than that, guys, the game is flawless. I mean, the game is just so pretty. Any region, any part of the map that you went to, and by the way, the map is massive. I still haven't figured out every area in the map or hit everything. Like, there's an entire section, the Abyss, that I haven't even hit yet, and I'm gonna do that off stream. But there were sections where even when I was at the final boss, I still had to go to get like very important key items, which I thought was still fun. This game definitely places a heavy impact on exploration, on finding new areas. They've definitely beefed up the game a lot with secret areas, but when it came to actually being immersed in some of these parts of the map, it was just so surreal. One of my favorite areas of the entire map is the Citadel, and I think it's called the Songclaves or something, but the soundtrack to that place is so captivating. It's elegant, it's beautiful, it sucks you in. It's my favorite place in the entire... I could literally go to that map and just run around and listen to the soundtrack, and that would be it for me. There's an abundance of enemies. I think there's like over 150 enemies when it comes to this game. And something that I also really enjoyed about the game is they actually give you assistance for some of the bosses with some of the NPCs, kind of like they do in Elden Ring. Something else that I massively enjoyed about the game was I just really loved the sounds that they gave all the NPCs, and especially Hornet, the main character, now has a voice. She now has dialogue. And the reason I really enjoy that is because coming off of the first game where the Hollow Knight didn't really speak, and you kind of got that confidence from Hornet, the way that they gave that to her in this game only deepened her character and deepened the story. And it gives the game such a fresh new breath of narration that I just really enjoyed. The gameplay and the mechanics all felt very similar to Hollow Knight. And look, I know I'm mentioning Hollow Knight a lot in this, but the reality is when you've been waiting for a game for this long, you're kind of expecting it to roll off of the last game in so many ways that it feels nostalgic. But I will say, for those that are just coming into the franchise for the first time playing Silksong, it's gonna feel amazing. But if you want my personal recommendation, play the original Hollow Knight first. And even beyond that, look into the lore of the game before going into Silksong. You are going to be amazed at just how far some of the lore goes for this game. And I've said this before, the fact that Silksong is an indie game for only $19.99 is it's the most insane deal I think that you'll ever find on a game. In terms of everything that you get, the experience that you go through, the attachment that you have to the game, it's just such a great deal. And it just goes to show how much Team Cherry and that whole crew actually cares about making a great game. I mean, look, guys, I could honestly sit here and talk forever about this game, and it truly is just a masterpiece of a game, in my opinion. I would love to know you guys' thoughts on the game. If you've played it, let me know what you think. Maybe you disagree with something I said. I don't give a fuck. At the end of the day, I love this game. It truly is one of those games where even after you get through it, it's like a comfort game. You just kind of want to come back to it and continue playing it. And they've already announced further DLCs for the game. And by the way, it's all going to be free. So yeah, that's kind of my shtick on the game. Catch you in the next one. Toodles.